Hi, everyone. SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We're going to take a look right now at the top 25 in college basketball from an ATS perspective. Today's February 23rd. The top-ranked team in the nation this week is, of course, once again, Villanova, and Villanova is also looking generally like a pretty good bet in most spots, except when they're a huge favorite against significantly weaker teams. They've also been notably strong ATS on the road. They've covered their last 3 road games by decent margins, and they do have 2 road games coming up this week. The first one, though, is a huge matchup with number 5 Xavier on Wednesday, and Xavier's also been very strong and generally undervalued as well, so I wouldn't want to make any ATS forecasts on that game as of right now. Then on Saturday, though, they have a road game against Marquette, which is exactly the caliber of team that Villanova has done well against on the road ATS this year. And they could have value again unless they're dealing with some kind of after effects from the Xavier game. Marquette's been a notably bad team at home this year against the spread. They're 4-12 ATS at home. So on paper, that game does look like it's shaping up to be a play-on spot for Villanova, depending, of course, on what happens in the Xavier game. Then number 2, Kansas, a team that can easily be overvalued, especially when they have an elite ranking, but that's definitely not the case with them right now. They've covered their last 7 in a row. They're playing very impressively, but this week is looking a little tough for them, and their ATS winning streak, I think, is likely to come to an end this week. They have 3 games this week, and all against teams that have actually been pretty good ATS recently, so it's going to be a little bit of a grind of a week for Kansas, and they may have particular trouble on the road at number 25 Texas on Monday the 29th. That one won't be easy for Texas either, of course, but as of right now, I'm going to be leaning towards Texas, and I'm expecting Kansas's ATS streak to stop either in that game or on Saturday at home against Texas Tech. Then moving on to 6 through 10, the most interesting team from an ATS perspective right now might be number 8, Iowa, and not in a good way for them. They've lost 3 in a row ATS, and the last 2 are by big margins, and this week I'm thinking they might be vulnerable again to ATS losses in their 2 games at home against Wisconsin on the 24th and at Ohio State on the 28th. Both Wisconsin and Ohio State have been strong ATS over the past several weeks, and I'm thinking that the market is likely to again give Iowa a little too much credit with their lines in those games. Then moving on to 11 through 15, number 11 Louisville and number 12 Miami, Florida meet in Miami on Saturday the 27th, and we'll see what the line winds up being for that game. But on paper, the situation appears to be favoring Miami. Louisville did get 2 strong wins last week, but they're just 1-7 against the spread on the road this year. And Miami's 10-3-1 against the spread at home. And Louisville also has an extra game to play this week, while Miami can rest up and fully prep for Louisville looking ahead to it. So as of right now, I'm thinking that Miami might be the side with value in that one. We'll see what the line is when it comes out. And then number 13, Oregon, will be in an interesting spot this week. They have 2 home games against Washington State and Washington. Oregon, of course, is going to be a huge favorite against Washington State, but Washington State has repeatedly gotten blown out at home and on the road in conference play, so the line might actually not be big enough. We'll see what that one is when it comes out. And then against Washington, a look at the over might be the way to go there. Oregon can easily be drawn into very high-scoring games, and Washington, of course, has been an over-trender this year, and they're 7-0 over-under on the road this year. Then moving on to 16 through 20, number 17 Iowa State and number 18 Indiana are both looking interesting right now. Iowa State lost all 3 of their games ATS last week, but overall they weren't by big margins, and this week they have home games against Kansas State and Oklahoma State. Both of those teams have lost 4 of their last 5 ATS, so you may see an ATS bounce back from Iowa State this week. And if I had to pick one game, one of those 2 games that I think will be better value playing on Iowa State, I would definitely pick the Oklahoma State game on Monday the 29th. That one will come right after 2 tough games for Oklahoma State, and I'll be looking to see how big of a favorite Iowa State winds up being in that one. And then Indiana is a strong team that's been playing close to the spreads recently, and they only have 1 game this week on the road at Illinois, and I'm thinking that Indiana might actually be a good bet in that one, despite being 2-6 ATS on the road this year, and despite Illinois having covered 4 of their last 5. I think both of those ATS records are a little misleading and may serve to keep the spread a bit lower than it should be. I'm expecting a cover from Indiana in that one. And then wrapping things up with 21 through 25, number 23 Notre Dame might be a good bet in both of their road games this week, and maybe particularly against Florida State on Saturday. Notre Dame got a tough loss in their only game last week, but before that they had covered 3 in a row against impressive competition, and Florida State's been badly overvalued recently. They've lost 4 in a row ATS, and their last 3 were all straight-up losses as a favorite. So the Notre Dame game also comes 2 games after Florida State's road game at Duke, so the scheduling spot might also give Notre Dame a bit of a boost, and I'm going to be looking forward to that one for a possible play on Notre Dame on the 27th. And that's an ATS look at the top 25 as of February 23rd.